Your side of it, we touched on, Mark, is financial health, if you like. And I know you work with a lot of companies on that. It's a kind of a sensitive area. And I know myself from dealings with big companies, it's people don't want to talk about personally, maybe about their finances or that, but it does put stress on people. So how do you find dealing with that side of it then?
Okay, so again, Breandán, I've been advising employees for the last, say, 30 years in relation to their financial affairs. And generally, when I meet them, it's usually the first time they've talked about their financial wellness. And unfortunately, most people only engage with a financial planner during a significant life event, say, for instance, their first mortgage, their first child, retirement, or even worse still, maybe the death of a spouse or a partner. So generally, after most financial planning meetings with employees, I always hear that general comment: if I'd known things earlier, I would have looked after my financial affairs differently.
I think what it's done, I think what this whole pandemic has done in terms of our organization and the entirety of the organization, is it's made us become much more honest with our employees. Every business worth its salt has a mission statement or a value statement. Every single business has it. But I genuinely believe that there are a difference between those businesses that have it and those businesses that live it. And I unfortunately think that there are too few businesses that live it, which is probably why they stand out in the marketplace.
So when we have a look at the research, we see that agile working, and I'll talk about agile as quite different to remote working, but agile working is just as important to men as it is to women. Being safe to take family absences is just as important to men as it is to women. Getting on a career ladder is just as important to women as it is to men. And we're moving more and more towards a situation where it's less thinking about what kind of policies do we need for the men in our organization and for the women in our organization, but more about what makes us a better workplace and what can we do to take away some of those barriers that are there, whether they're real or perceived. I do tend to talk about, you know, what's happening in the world of work, and a little bit about what's happening in COVID as a bit of an evolution. So like if my dad was here and I was having a conversation with my dad, which I did do as a HR person because he could never understand, you know, what I did. You know, he came from a generation where the majority of employees went to work to fund their life. They clocked in, did their work, get paid, go home. And engagement and happiness and fulfillment came totally from life outside work. Then there was probably my generation where we started to talk much more about work-life balance and how did we make sure that neither got in the way of each other. And from a HR perspective, you know, for my dad's generation, it was all about pay and superannuation. For my generation, it began to be, you know, conversations around terms and conditions and policies. And now if I look at the current generation, we don't talk about work-life balance anymore. We talk about work-life blend. And from a HR perspective, it's less now about policies and terms and conditions. They're the factors that if you don't have them as an employer, you just don't get people. The differentiation is more in engagement, how we treat people, and a sense of self-worth.